Hey, asshole. I want you to tell me what that man's name is.
I don't know.
You don't know? Now that's a pity.
Welcome to part 4. Right, good news, bad news. Let's do bad news. The front mudguard. I bought some sandable fiberglass filler to repair the cracked mudguard because it was cracked. Whilst transporting it in my van, my spare van wheel fell on it and broke it. So, I mean, am I flogging a dead horse here? Not sure. Don't want to pay the money for a replacement because it's too much money for a bit of crap plastic. Good news is I got the wheels back with new tyres. They're not expensive tyres, they are the cheap tyres, but they are the look I was going for. And the wheels obviously been cleaned up. At least cleaned, not polished, but cleaned. And the rear sprocket's been cleaned up as well. So we have wheels with tyres, which means we can make it a rolling chassis again. So this is the sandable filler that I got. It's fiberglass bridging filler. Anyone has any experience of using that, let me know, leave comments. Comments are brilliant, the more comments I get the better. When I bought the tyres, I paid for the tyres, I picked up one of these reputably not very good fuel filters, but it was £79 for the fuel filter, 2 tyres, 2 tubes, all fitted. Can't complain at that, can you? 79 quid. We also got not really, it's a cursory thing. I bought myself a sander because I'm fed up sanding shit to death with my hands, so I bought myself that, but it's not really going to go in the project cost. I also went into the farm shop to buy some rolls and I bought 4 buckets for £1. Look, already working, holding with cloths. 4 for £1, bargain. They'll get plenty of use in here. I have made a start on painting and priming and preparing, which I wasn't going to do yet, but went and bought some cheap Wilkinson's primer, gloss black, and have some clear lacquer as well. Only £4 a tin, so I thought I'll take a chance on something cheaper. It's not the finish, don't really care, can redo it, it's not an awful lot to be painted. I did actually have some black paint and primer, so I redid the tailpiece. Had a couple of runs and didn't wipe it down properly after the first coat, but it was the first coat, so there we go, that's been sanded ready for second coat of gloss black. I ran out of paint while I was doing it, which caused, you know, lumps and splodges. Side panels prepped ready for paint. I'm going to use it for the MOT, and after that I won't be using it, but may as well make it look nice. Over here we've got the chain guards, which has also had a coat and then been sanded back, ready to be painted. Now I'm not going to, I sprayed these originally, but I'm actually going to use some exterior metal paint and brush them on, because it's pretty rough. It's the chain guard, you know. They're probably not staying on after the MOT, so may as well give them a good solid coating of metal paint and just see what kind of finish you get. A bit of an experiment really, not too fussed if it turns out pretty shit. We have a box of things, and in it is the very chavvy indicators I've gone for. It's a set of 4 bulbs, not LED, which I was always going to do. And that's them really. I mean, an indicator's an indicator's an indicator. But a set of 4 of those. There are 2 slightly longer, 2 not as long. They'll be alright, won't they? To go with the gloss or satin black finish and chrome, because everything's cleaned up so well. I'm actually finding it difficult to follow through with a lot of the ideas I had, based on the fact the bike's cleaning up so damn well. Might end up just looking like a nice old bike. We'll see. Let's make it a nice old bike, very presentable, clean, painted, polished, get it MOT'd, and then I'll make a decision on what I'm going to do with it, I think. But phase 1's going well. It's raining outside, so I can't really show you outside, but I know the light's shit in here. So yeah, shoes are in excellent condition, and it cleaned up alright. Again, it's just the main clean, and then I'll do a nice detail clean once the bike's back together, but very pleased with how that came up as well. Right, I'm doing the unthinkable, and I've taken stuff into the kitchen to do, which is terrible of me. So I'm using some exterior, or interior, but gloss, typical metal, one coat, exterior gloss. So whilst it's not important to do the inside pieces, I am actually going to give it a little bit of protection by doing the inside edge as well. For those of you that don't gloss, gloss is brilliant. It's so thick, and as long as you're even with the brush strokes on the finish, you get a nice finish. In my experience, and just like I'm not a mechanic, definitely not a decorator. You gotta, it's not like painting a door, you've got to press it into the gaps before feathering out your brush strokes. You got to watch you don't overspread it, and you got to watch you don't put too much on in the first go, but generally gloss is quite forgiving. As long as you work with it while it's still wet, you can get away with most things. If it's too thick, you get to thin it out. If it's too thin, you can always bodge a little bit more on. That is my kind of paint. Right, there we have a slightly thick and rough finish on the chain guards. It should suffice for the job in hand. Next job is the valve clearances, which involves taking off the rocker cover and the side engine casing here, so we can reach the stator cover, so I can set it to top dead center, and inside the rocker cover are the arms that you want to check the clearances on. So I'm going to take the covers off now. Right, last bolt off there. Got the engine on a thick foam pad just so I don't damage it, and I can rest it on its side. Take that cover off. So we need access to this to be able to rotate it, which in turn will lift the piston up and down. So now the engine casing cover is off, we can remove the rocker cover. With the use of the correct size socket. Finger loose. I'm dying to scrub up the engine casings and the block and everything and get it painted. I have no experience of VHT paint, so if anyone does, can you drop me a message or leave a comment. I mean, I want to get it done and I want to do it properly. It's never going to be an amazing finish because the engine's not in that great condition cosmetically, but there's a lot more preparation to be done for it to be ready for paint. I don't know about primer for VHT paint, things like that. There's not a huge amount of information online. Right, rocker cover off. I'll actually bring the camera in for this bit. So if that focuses, you can see there are marks. Nearly focused. There are marks on the top here. That one is T. There's an F as well. One's for the exhaust stroke, one's for the top dead centre, etc. And there's a mark. There you go. The mark on the engine there. We've lined that up with the mark beside the T, and we've made sure that these are level before we start. So what you need to do is check the gap in here, and we need to slacken these lock nuts if an adjustment needs made, and we will see if we need to do that. So let's check the clearances with the feeler gauge. I was just talking to a camera that wasn't recording. Anyways, I've just checked the Haynes manual that was in much better condition when I bought it, and it says somewhere in that mix of stuff that it needs a 0.08mm valve clearance for both valves. So what we need to do is adjust them, because I've just checked and it is currently 0. There is no valve clearance whatsoever. It's just far too tight, so need to get on and adjust. I'm actually running low on battery, so my trusty old feeler gauge, it's seen better days. Slackened off the lock nut, and I've taken out a little square nodule on here you can slacken the actual screw with, so now we have a bit of movement. I'm going to place in that. I'm going to screw it down, not the lock nut. That's grabbing too tight for me to pull out, so you want it gripping, and then carefully tighten the lock nut up so it's still grippy, but not too much, because as you tighten this lock nut, it's going to tighten ever so slightly on the screw. So that is spot on for 0.08mm, and we shall tighten that on the lock nut. So front sprocket goes on the spline, slots on like so. Locking plate goes on, and you'll notice it's offset from the holes. You just raise it up a little until there's a little groove, and then you find the point where it will rotate on the spline. 2 bolts, don't tighten one so it raises up one side, just get the thread started on both so that they're going in reasonably level. That keeps everything square, and then tighten them up to the correct torque. Front sprocket reattached.